One of the most perfect ways that you can train your cardio and train your conditioning is something called the cardio row machine. You can get on there, you can go for a sprint, you can also go for say 20, 30 minutes, but no matter what you're doing, you're gonna wind up hitting key back muscle, you're gonna wind up hitting your glutes, you're gonna train a lot of things, you're gonna train multiple energy systems too. It really is the perfect cardio in my opinion.
Yeah, and when it comes to it, it's taxing everything. So if we're looking at using your muscles, your posterior chain gets taxed from the bottom of your head to the bottom of your feet. We're getting a lot of quad involvement, and you're going from pushing and pulling with the lower body, pulling with the upper body. It can become very challenging. And as Eb already alluded to, we're talking about different energy systems. So if you're going for quick sprints or intermediate levels or long distance, your body needs different demands in order to give the energy necessary for that task. The 500 meter portion just tends to sit right in between some of those energy systems, which is why it's such a common and brutal program you want to try and do.
Exactly, and it's a blend of training and test. It's a great way to test yourself. You want to see how your cardio is, how is your conditioning, survive a 500 meter row, try to get under a minute 30, you know you're in really great shape. But you can also just train on it, get that longer row, it's gonna wind up supporting that 500 meter row when you test it. And you can also get better at the cardio row, not by just rowing. It's a movement that really combines two ideas. We've got hip extension, that powerful act of squeezing our glutes, and then you've got a basic row motion, and you can never row enough. So that means we can get better at our cardio row in the gym, and we're gonna show you how to do that with these 5 moves.
Number 5 on the list for the exercises that are get your 500 meter row or your cardio rowing in a better position is going to be the farmer's carry. And the farmer's carry is such a staple because it's not only gonna work on your conditioning aspect, but your grip and your stability. Anybody who's been on a cardio rowing machine understands how important it is to go from driving your legs forward, maintaining position in that handle, and really transferring that force production power from your feet all the way through the motion of the rower. This is gonna be so critical, and with farmer's carries, we can test that over a nice duration of time, which is very applicable to what we're gonna do with a rowing machine.
Exactly, you're aiming for say 130, 145 on your 500 meter row. Imagine just holding kettlebells or walking with really heavy kettlebells for 1 minute 30, a minute 45 seconds, doing 3 to 4 sets of that, you wind up taxing your whole body. I think the thing that people forget when they get on the rower is just how full body it is, and we really wanna be able to squeeze on those handles. The more I can really squeeze and own the handles and pull from there, I'm gonna be able to get a stronger pull because I can irradiate better through my shoulders, and we wanna have that. You're developing that when you're on the grip with the farmer's carry. That's why that's number 5 on our list. Number 4 on our list, one of the key functions when you're on the rower is that active rowing. So we need to train that active rowing. One of the best ways you can do that for the cardio row is with a bent over dumbbell row. So a couple great things happen when you're doing a bent over dumbbell row. One, we're actually living essentially in the bottom position of our cardio row. At the very end, we're starting in that position, and you're gonna get a chance to, from that, squeeze through your shoulder blades, and we get the key function that we have to hit when we're thinking about rowing. The thing we wanna do differently when we're thinking about training this dumbbell bent over row for the cardio row is we wanna think about getting some length through our mid-back and letting our shoulder blades separate. When you're on the cardio row, you want to pick up as much length as you can at the bottom when you're reaching for that handle. That way you can pull back over a greater length. It's going to give you a chance to create that much more velocity. So you get to practice that, and you want to practice that when you're thinking about rowing, in particular for the cardio row.
Yeah, one of the key things when you're going through a rowing pattern is connecting your arms with your back. And that really starts with something called scapulohumeral rhythm, which is really basically your shoulder blades and how they operate through the movement of a pulling pattern. So as we go through our rows, we can really learn how to allow that shoulder blade to move forward when we're letting the hand go away. But then when we're going to initiate that pull, we're bringing that shoulder blade back to a comfortable spot to utilize both the shoulder girdle and back in the way we want to for this machine.
Exactly. Spinal mobility winds up being key when you're on the cardio row, so we want to use this dumbbell row to train that. You want to think about doing this for anywhere from 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps and really focus on getting that length, get stretched out, and then pull with power. Go through that full motion. you're completing the top half of your cardio row when you're doing that.
At number 3, we're gonna go with back extensions. Back extensions are a great move to pair up with getting prepared for cardio rowing, because the fact of the matter is your lower back is in the position for what you're trying to do from a lower body to upper body standpoint. The key with rowing is, like I said before, connecting your lower body force production with the upper body, and your lower back tends to be that midpoint in between. So when your hips get fatigued and your upper body gets fatigued, your low back is the one that's bearing the brunt of the force. In order to do this, we want to learn how to properly connect our mid back and low back to understand that you don't have to stay rigid through every motion, but you should have some controlled flexibility and controlled stability when moving through a rowing type of pattern. Now, the back extensions themselves will also connect with you doing hip extension, but then knowing how to leverage and create some of that accountability at that lower back. You might feel some tightness in your lower back. Tightness in your lower back is not a bad thing. You're going to feel fatigued just like any other muscle, but we do need to prepare it appropriately, just like any other muscle.
Exactly. I like this too, because you can also take the reps a little bit higher. When we're on that cardio row, especially if you're doing that 500, you're going hard for 90 seconds. So it helps to build a little bit of that resiliency, and you can build that on the lower back extension. You can take the reps a little bit higher. We still want to have a little bit of a load in front of us, because that's going to allow us to do the exact same thing we were doing with that dumbbell row and get a little bit of that full motion with our shoulders and start to train that strength, train a little bit of that mobility through our upper spine. So we want to take our time with this, but we can get the reps a little bit higher. I like to be around 3 to 4 sets of anywhere from 15 to 20 reps. And like Dave said, work through a little bit of soreness or tightness if you have it. This is a nice, safe way that you can really connect with that lower back and build a lot of the core strength you're going to need on the rower. Number 2 on our list, and now we're starting to get to the critical ideas that go into rowing. The key thing you have to do when you row is really squeeze your glutes, get into hip extension. That's where you're able to produce your most power in general on any movement, and so it's going to wind up driving your ability to own the row. Best way to get that glute squeeze and really teach hip extension at a base level and really do it with a heavy weight, which is going to wind up translating to the rower very well, is going to be your basic deadlift. And you want to try to focus on this with one of 2 implements, either with the trap bar or with the barbell. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. Either way, we want to be able to train this one heavy, and it's going to teach us that powerful glute squeeze. We're also going to get a lot more core stability and mid-back stability and strength out of that than you may think.
And the key thing with doing a deadlift is by lifting dead weight through space. And there's no greater feeling than that when going to the rower, letting the handles go all the way in, and then needing to initiate from scratch on each and every single pull. And that's where the deadlift comes into play, because not only are we focusing on hip extension that people tend to think of with a deadlift, but we're focusing on knee extension as well. And knee extension with hip extension is going to involve both the quadriceps and hamstrings, the glutes, and your hip flexors, everything involved in order to create this task of pulling the handles back, which is very unique to a movement such as that. And there's no better way to translate that by getting some heavy weight in your hands, whether it's pronated in front with a barbell, or you're the center of mass inside of a trap bar. Whatever you feel comfortable with is great, but understanding that the depth of going with a normal deadlift itself is going to be important, because as we've talked about with cardio rowing, allowing that handle to get in closer towards the wheel is going to allow you to generate more power and more force to get more meters under your belt when creating this task.
Exactly. We want to get every single rep as long as possible. So that may, if you're doing the trap bar deadlift, you may want to flip the handles and go to a low handle trap bar deadlift. You want to wind up lifting a little bit lighter, but we're going through a larger range of motion. You want to be able to maximize that range of motion on the rower. The more and longer distance over which I can pull, the better. It's interesting too, when you look at some of the best row records in the 500, you're looking at those done by powerlifters who are incredibly powerful at the deadlift, and that just goes to show how much this deadlift is going to wind up translating into your rowing. We can keep the reps low here. You can work, say, anywhere from 4 to 6 sets of 3 to 5 reps, because we are focusing on power. What you're trying to do when you get on the rower, when I get on for a 500 meter row, I want to think about every single pull is my 3 to 5 rep pull. When I'm doing a deadlift, I'm trying to max out over and over and over on that rower, so I'm capturing power on every single rep. I want to ask you a question. Trap bar or barbell, there are different strengths and weaknesses to these when they translate to the rower too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to preferably go with a trap bar type of setup, mainly because of how it can function with all the muscles around it. But you almost can't go wrong when deciding that. I think what's appropriate is when you choose your programming, you choose the implement that is going to keep you getting stronger and keep you in a really good position. And if you can do that, that's great. I think, like you mentioned, the key thing though is translating to power, which means intent. How much force can I put into this? I'm not just moving the barbell up with weight on it, I'm moving it up with intent and speed, because that's what you're gonna need if you wanna have a really impressive 500-meter row time.
Exactly. What will happen though, if you are on the trap bar, you're gonna be able to lift heavier. So take advantage of that and try to get the trap bar into your routine. Don't shy away from the barbell though, because the position of your hands on the barbell is going to come very close to mimicking exactly what you get with the rower handle. We get a chance to work on breaking the bar, which is the exact same thing we want to do when we're attacking the rower handle, and we get to work on our grip in the exact same position that you're going to be on the rower. So either deadlift winds up having value. That's number 2 on our list.
And at number 1 is the kettlebell swing. And the kettlebell swing is a great translator into your cardio rowing because it takes everything we've already talked about: hip extension, knee extension, maintaining spinal stability and integrity, creating and generating force from the hips and feet. Those are all things that you're gonna wanna do in your rower. And it might not look exactly like the pattern, but I can tell you that it's gonna use a lot of the same mechanisms and muscles that you want if you wanna have an impressive 500-meter row.
It's also a unique movement in that you can sustain it the same way you would a 500-meter row. We can go for 60 seconds, we can go for 90 seconds, or you can dare to challenge yourself with a heavy load as you're doing that. The great thing I think you get about it that's different from the deadlift, we can wind up deadlifting slowly at times. We're not necessarily gonna be as powerful as we wanna be on the deadlift, especially as we get heavier. With the kettlebell swing, every single rep is power. You're teaching yourself and getting yourself in a power mindset. That's going to wind up translating very, very well to the rower. I think you can play with a lot of different rep schemes here. You can be, say, 3 to 4 sets of anywhere from 10 to 20 reps. Don't be afraid to even drop lower than that. They'll pick up very heavy kettlebells. We want to build that power engine so that we can repeat that power over and over and over. That's what works very well on the rower.
And I think one of the best parts and ways you can approach it as well is by going into something like cluster sets, where you're doing sets of sets. So a cluster set in its entirety would be, if I was doing 10 repetitions, I might do 5 mini sets of 2 to get my 1 set of 10. And I think it's a great way that you can focus on the power production and intent, but you're also spreading it out so you can make the most of every single repetition that you're doing. Now, the unique part about a kettlebell swing also is understanding that you have to control the eccentric and really load that muscle before you explode through the kettlebell swing. That's not something you have to do on a rower, because as the handle comes in, it's not necessarily pulling you in towards the rower. And that's something you have to learn in order for the most effective way of using your muscles, is how do I properly load the muscle when I'm going into it to create the most power possible. So the kettlebell swing can be a great transition point for learning that mechanism so you can translate it to the rower in the way that it's not gonna force you to do it.
One more way you can use kettlebell swings, and I love to do this. Remember, we're using these to really work on our hip extension power and to teach ourselves power. So you can do, say, 5 to 10 reps of kettlebell swings, go straight from that kettlebell swing onto a rower, row for, say, 10, 20 strokes, however you want to do it. Keep that sprinty. The kettlebell swing is going to wind up making your row stroke better because you are taking the power you generate through your hips. You understand that when you get off of a good kettlebell swing, then you take that right to the rower and implement it. So there's so many ways you can use kettlebell swings. That's why it's number 1 on your list. But all 5 of these moves, if you're really trying to get better at your cardio row, you've got to find a way to get them into your routine. And once you do that, you're going to see those cardio row times drop. We're going to see you on the leaderboard one day.